Hello, this is Richard from Expedition Tracking. Today it's the 6th of April 2023, and I'm going to tell you about some of the exciting changes that we have made over the winter time, which some of you may have already spotted, but I'm going to go through some of these in detail today and show you how you can get the most out of them. Some of them you may not need to use or want to use for your particular use case, but others you may find very, very useful. So let's start with the interface changes. I should say that we are still doing a few tweaks and changes to the interface, so you may see some minor alterations to the layout, but overall most of this would still look familiar to you. You have got the layout of the map here. You've got the participant sidebar, and you've got the zoom keys here, which I think might have moved. They may have been up there previously. You can still see that we have the map selector and also the ability to turn on and off all of those routes as you wish, and obviously flip the maps over to the different types. Okay, so that's broadly similar to how it was before. What has changed is the participant sidebar. So this has undergone a fairly substantial set of changes over the winter. We are also going to expand this a little bit wider and make this permanently open on a desktop device. You can still minimize it, but the main changes you would see at the moment are the participant search bar is still here. You can still search for either numbers, or you can search for names and it will restrict. That's as it was before. You can also use the drop down here to select if you created groups, for example, red team, blue team, and things like that. You can use the grouping feature to select just the male, just the female, just the race admin in this case. I'll put it back to all. New feature across here is favorites. We have had favorites on an earlier iteration of the system a few years ago, but we've reintroduced it and made it a little bit better. So if I'm interested in seeing, let's say, this person, this person, and this person, because as you can see there's probably about 50 flags on this map and there's too many for me to look at. So I'm just interested in 3 particular groups or people I know, and if I click on the favorite, what it then does, as you can see, is instantly shorten and only put those 3 on the map. So you can remove all of the noise. So if you're an expedition or a group that's got 20, 30 or more trackers, that can be useful. Even if you've just got a few, you may just want to concentrate on that one particular one. You can undo that by simply unticking it again, and that will put all of those back. You notice it does retain the 3 that you originally had, so you can come back and re-enable the favorites again if you wish. So that is particularly useful. If you had added some other information, which is the age categories and nationalities, you would also get some filters on here, and I'll show you about those in just 1 minute. But first of all, let's have a look at what we've got. So we've got the bib number, we've got the name, we've got there the current average speed, and that's from the start of the event, and that is based on them following this particular blue line, this GPX file. And now then, if I click either on the name or on the little magnifying glass, this is where there's a substantial change to the layout that you'll have seen previously. So let's do this now. Okay, first of all, what we're seeing is a very deep dive on this particular person. So Ben is here and he's in the group male. Last sent an update just 1 minute ago. The time here is 2:45. His battery percentage is 75%. Location in British National Grid reference. The distance travelled at the moment, he's travelled nearly 215 kilometers. I should say this is a particularly long race, as you've probably gathered. And then you've got the current average speed overall. So since the start of the event, which has been going for about 36 hours now, this person's averaged 6.6 kilometers per hour, and his current speed, which is the speed since the last checkpoint he's visited, is 6.1. So he's a little bit down on his overall average speed, and the tracker ID he's been assigned is 436. Now what you can see further down is his individual performance and leaderboard details, which you previously would have had to have a look at our main leaderboard over in that corner to see. So we've pulled this into here. Again, this was on a previous iteration of our website, but we've reintroduced it in an easier to read format, just so you can see. So what you've got is the start time was 6 o'clock on the Wednesday. This person reached checkpoint 1 at 11:06, doing a speed of 9.1 k per hour, and that was 46 kilometers into the route, and so on and so forth. These are all of the checkpoints that have been listed, and these are all the ones that they've got to. All of the ones that they haven't got to, you can see are here. So the predicted finishes here are the ETA of 16:49 to get into CP7, which is there, and CP8 on and so forth. And as you can see, the speed changes. So this is the sector speed. That's the speed that went from the start to CP1. This is the average speed from C1 to C2. Overall, you can see, and gradually, as the person tires and rests, that you would expect this to drop. So that's a useful focus. What do all these icons do down here? So several of these were existing features already. We've just moved them. And actually what we're probably going to do, you'll notice is it disappears. And we're going to freeze the pane. So those icons should be constantly visible to you at the bottom. If you turn this on, this will show their history or their path. So let's click that on now. This should be a familiar feature to most of you already. And then as you begin to roll over the the slide here at the bottom, you'll see just above it, it's got 12:04, and then this little circle here is where he was at that particular time. So this is an existing feature that you're aware of. For those of you who are not aware what those little red dashes are up on the key here at the top, these they're using GSM trackers on this particular device, and there's a few deep valleys in this particular area of Brecon where there is limited cover. So you can see there's a section here that was okay there, little section there, little section there, a little section here in this valley, and then a tiny bit on the top. That means that when the tracker was passing through this, and each one of these is a 2-minute update, so I'm going to say that's probably about 15 or 16 minutes, maybe a little bit longer there, about 20 minutes. That tracker was buffering the data, which means it couldn't transmit it live, but it stored the data on the device, and when it got to here, it retransmitted it all. So it preserved the path. This is something unique to the types of trackers that we use with the GSMs and the LTEs, and it isn't available with spot trackers. Spot trackers would simply draw a line here and then draw a line here again, forgetting all of the granularity. So we enable you to see anywhere where there is a lost signal, and for this race organizer, we know these are problem areas, so we've specifically marked these in little red circles and called them low signal area 1 and 2, because as you can see, there's down right in around this lake, this reservoir, right in a deep valley here, it's got very little coverage, so it's useful sometimes to be able to see those areas. Okay, so the other icon which you can see on there, let me just go and turn off that history track, sorry, turn on the history track, I'd already turned it off, is these 3 icons. First of all, you can download the route that you've just seen as a KML file, which is Google Earth. You can also download it as a GPX file, which you could re-import to OS Maps Online or whatever application you want, or you may be using this data for some kind of a record attempt and you need some evidence. So that's where you would download that from. Finally, this is also just a redesigned icon. This will launch Google Maps from your device. So if you're using a mobile phone and you're out supporting perhaps one of these people, it would plot a route from your current location to this participant. So I'm going to launch here. Now I'm using a desktop device and I'm way up in Shropshire, so it's going to plot a very long route, but I'll show you what happens anyway. If I click on that, as you can see, I'm up here in Shropshire and it's plotted me a route. It's going to take me 2 hours and 21 minutes, and that will get right to where that person is at the moment. So that's plotted a route to the person, not to the course, to the actual person. So it is actually possible for you to go and find, if you've got a lost group, you can actually use that icon to go and find them. And if you're on foot, you could click the walking route, and that would give you the walking route option as well. So that's how to use that particular feature. let's go back to the main map and have a look at what else we can see. So those are, broadly speaking, the changes to the participant sidebar. As I say, you will get some more columns here which are context dependent if you've got some of the other data, which I'll go into in a second. The other changes, let's go into the leaderboard now. So the leaderboard looks much the same as it did before. You get to select which GPX file you're interested in. So there's 3 GPXs applied to this. All of the participants in this particular event are assigned to this 200-mile event. So you can see here the usual battery indicator, which is 75%. So they go green and they change colors to orange and red as they begin to get low. So that battery there is starting to get low. And then you have got the tracker's current location. If they're green, they're moving. If they're orange, they are not moving. And there may be some grey or some red ones. Let's have a look. Some grey ones. These people have been retired. They DNF'd from this particular event, which is a running event. Next up, it shows you their rank. It shows you their bib number or flag number. Their name is here. The kilometers that they've traveled, the last time the device sent an update, all of these in the last few minutes, the current average speed, and then you've got the time that they reached each of those checkpoints that you saw on that deep dive on the sidebar, as well as the ETAs that you can see there as well. You do, if you hover over these with a mouse, you can see the sector speeds, which were shown on the previous page as well, from one CP to the other. Likewise, on the previous page, you could click on this icon and it will navigate you through to your current location through to reach that checkpoint. So if useful, if you don't know where a meeting point is, or one of your assessors or supervisors doesn't, you can say use the tracking map, click on this icon here, and it will navigate you directly to the meeting point. So it's very useful for people unfamiliar with your course or area to be able to get them to the right location. Now the changes that we've made are in sorting. So you can use these little up and down arrows and order people by rank. So you can order them in reverse order. You can put the order by the race number, and you can order them by their surname as well, and you can put them in reverse surname order simply by clicking it twice. Again, same with distance. You can sort by ascending and descending order. Okay, so they're all the main changes that we've made to the front end interface. But what I'm going to show you now is if I go into the interface on the back end. Let me just pause this while I get there quickly. Okay, so what I've just done there is gone into the edit of the editing the event. So when I click on edit here, it edits this event. I think everything here is unchanged from previous iterations. So there's nothing else to see there. However, what if I now go down into the area here, which is the participants area, and this is where there have been a few changes. So if I click on the participants there's some new columns that have been added in here. Some of these only appear once the event has started. First thing you can do is set a nationality, and those are the ones you can pick from. Really, there's only going to be interested if you're going to be organising an international race, so leave those blank if you're just using it within the UK. Age category, so you can choose, for example, you can type whatever you want in there. That might be MF, might be MV40, MV60. Again, this is useful for event organisers who need age categories for running and cycling and things along those lines. The start time and the route. So the route, you can pick. If you've got multiple GPX files, you can assign them to here. This was an existing feature already. So if, for example, this person was following that route, but the second person, they were following a different route, you would assign the specific route to those people, and that way they would get their accurate speed and distance time calculations depending on which route or which GPX file they were following. Alongside that, you can change the start time. This has now been expanded to include a date as well as a time. This is mainly for expedition use because you may have a 3, 3 or 4 day expedition, and you may have created 4 different GPX files. So on day 1 you might have the AH200 day 1, in which case this might be the correct start time because it's day 1. But you might find that on day 2, you've created a GPX file called AH200V2. So what you would then do is click on this, choose your day 2 file, and then go in and click on the date checker and say, right, okay, for day 2, they're going to be clicking on this one here because this is the following day, and you might have a different start time. The action of doing that simply enables the ETA and speed distance time calculations to be accurate. So when you've got a multi-day event where you're using multiple GPXs, so you might have 3 different groups, and each of them has created a day 1, a day 2, a day 3. So all that would happen is at the end of day 1 or the start of day 2, you would hop into the admin system here, just change the associated GPX file, and then change the start date and time, and that then would continue to give you accurate ETAs throughout your expedition. So that is all of the main changes in that area. Let me just go back to the previous page. There are some additional changes in this area. Not all of these options may be available to you if depending on what type of account you have. You can assign trackers as normal in here, and you can still upload participants. So if you are an organization who owns quite a lot of quite a lot of our trackers, you may find it easier to upload the participants with a CSV file rather than just adding them one by one. In order to do that, you can add them in this format. You can put the tracker and the number, then a comma, then the name, a comma, the bib number, comma, the group, or you can use male, female, or whatever you like, and then comma, you can put a start time in there as well. And that would import 30, 40, 100, or however many you need all in one go. Alternatively, you would just go and use the usual one here, which would be tabbing between the boxes and typing in your tracker numbers to assign them as normal. The other areas down here would only be visible to certain race organisers, so I won't go into any detail about those. They are specifically for assigning trackers on the day when you've got many hundreds of events. Sometimes we're supporting events with 400 or 500 people on there, and we assign trackers on the day using barcode scanners and things like that. So that is all of the new information we've got so far, the new updates we've got so far. There are more coming along the way, which I will share with you in due course, but hopefully you will get to grips with some of those, get to use some of those, and find all of those useful. Thank you very much for listening and watching today, and we look forward to continuing to help with your tracking needs in the future. Thank you very much.